Good morning. And Sarah, who else is here? Marco Levon is here. Michal Fernandez is here.
No,
She's not
she's
here.
out.
Okay, Maya. Maya's here.
Yeah, she's here.
Bracha Simcha here. Devora Kopelowitz. Devora Kopelowitz. Is that the pronunciation? She's coming. Chava Krimko. No. Devora Namdar is here. Rivka Shira. Good morning, and Rachel is here, right? Good morning. We have Sharonel. She's absent. Sofa Geula, you're here. Shayna. Not here. Rotem is not here, right?
She is here.
She's here. Okay. Mushka. Not here. And is that Iyar? I'm not sure if I pronounced that correctly. Here is here. And Sarah Goldenberg? No? And Sarah Keller? You're here. Okay. Let's begin. Okay, we're on page. We're going to the text this time, yeah. I'll make sure we study something. We're on page Kuf Chav Beis. Maybe we'll get into some other stuff later, you never know. But let's finish up kashering. Let's try finishing it up at least. Okay, so we're on page 122, halacha Yud Zayin. We're learning about kashering. So there's a kashering that's done through hagala. Hagala refers to immersing something in boiling hot water. Kelim shenispashal b'hem isra yidei mayim, a vessel that was cooked, that had forbidden substance that got absorbed through the medium of liquid. For example, a pot or a spoon, for example. You put it in, you insert it inside a pot that's on the fire. In tafshil with a tafshil isur, hachsharasa ma'idei hagala. You kasher it through hagala. Can I trouble you to open the window, or is it open already? I guess it is. Okay. So to a vessel, let's say it's absorbed. Let's say I took a pot and I cooked non-kosher chicken soup, so it was absorbed through liquid. I can kosherize it. I can purge it through liquid. This one also. The idea is we employ what's known as the like-to-like principle. Just like we got absorbed, that's how we can get purged. Okay? The like-to-like principle. I hope no one's cold in here. Is anyone cold? You girls cold?
Okay.
You okay? Okay, if you're cold, let me know. I'm always hot. Okay. Halacha Yud Ches. Hachonas hakli lifnei hagala. So now before we do the hagala process, the vessel has to become ready. We have to ready the vessel. How do you do that? We have to remove all dirt and all rust that's on the vessel. Because if there's rust on a vessel, maybe there's some Iyar, some forbidden material that's hiding behind the rust. Because hagala, what it does, it purges what's absorbed in the vessel. But it doesn't take out something that's actual substance that's stuck there. So let me give you an example. Let's say this is the inside of my vessel. I don't have a vessel to use as an example, but I'll use my hat. Let's say I've got something absorbed. I got a glob right here inside the hat, right, in my vessel. And then I have rust over the glob. So if I boil water, then the boiling water is not going to pull out the glob that's stuck under the rust. That's why you have to remove the rust to be able to get away whatever is stuck there. The other option is to burn the area where the rust is. Okay? It doesn't take the Iyar itself. On the other hand, when you're koshering something with actual live fire, with let's say a flamethrower menacing torch, if I may say, then those things that kasha that destroys it burns anything in its place. And trust me, it's true. I've used it before.
Is that why you went into the contract business?
I got out of the business for that reason. If you just have discolorment, it's just a discolorment, it's not a problem. You don't have to remove. So if you have stainless steel, let's say that's stained, but it's clean, it's not a problem. Staining is not a problem when it comes to the laws of kashering. A vessel that's very narrow has a narrow, let's say, a gooseneck opening, and you cannot get out the rust that's inside, then you cannot kasher it with agola. Then you can't kasher with agola because you can't clean it. Now, halacha yates. Kol makom sheyesh bekli sedek charitz. Now, some vessels, by the way, have grooves and they have crevices. So for Yud Ches, either you remove the rust and you clean what's behind the rust, or you burn it there. No, you have to remove the rust and then clean what's behind the rust before you boil it out, or you can burn it. You have two choices. Now, halacha yates speaks about various vessels, about how to clean them. Some vessels have grooves. Let's say, for example, I remember when I kosherized a bakery for Passover, for Pesach, they had butcher block tables. And when they take these strong big knives to cut on the table, you'll have grooves inside the wood. You'll have various grooves, and you can't really clean that area. There could be chametz or dough stuck there. So what we had to do is we had to sand down the butcher block table like 1/4 of an inch or something, just to get off the entire layer, to make a fresh layer that's entirely smooth. That's what you can do with regards to wood. If you have any groove or you have a space between the handle of the knife and the knife itself, that's a place where you can have actual residue build up there. If it can't be cleaned, then agola doesn't help. The fikach sakin, she usually said a knife that has a groove between the actual handle, between the actual knife, and you can't clean that area. So if I have a handle, let's say it's a wooden handle, okay, and then I have the metal blade. It's two separate pieces. The wooden handle is screwed onto the blade. But because it's two separate pieces, there's a possibility that residue can build up by the handle area where I hold my hand to use the knife, and I can't clean that area well. Yes, it's worst case scenario. You're right. But the fact is, if you use a knife all the time, it's going to happen. If you use it only once and you know you never touched it, it's not a problem. But if you use it all the time indiscriminately in the kitchen, it's going to happen. Then agola won't help because you can't clean it properly. Then what would help would be if you fire it, if you can torch it. But it's only going to work if it's not going to get destroyed. If it's a wooden handle, it's going to get destroyed. So it wouldn't work either. If you have a space that has a groove, let's say I have a metal table that has marks, that has grooves inside it, and I can't clean, then I have to torch that area to burn it. Because the libun, the torching, just burns the place, all mamashis, all actual residue that's in the place of the groove. And then you can do hagola, you can kasher it properly. Now, another thing I wanted to point out was, when it comes to the laws of hagola, there's another restriction that you don't have when you kasher with fire. Because hagola doesn't destroy the isser, it only purges the isser, it brings it out of the vessel. It's a way of removing it. It's not actually destroying it, it's removing it. So therefore, we can only do a hagola under most circumstances. That is, there are some exceptions, which I'm not getting into at this moment. You can only do hagola when the vessel is eine ben yoima. It was not used within the last 24 hours. So the vessel sat quiet and the cabinet didn't make any noise for 24 hours. Then you take it out and you can kasher it. It's got to sit by itself, sit quietly. I don't mean quietly, figuratively speaking. I mean, not used. Halacha chaf. Since since Hagal does not destroy the forbidden taste, rather takes it out of the vessel. There's a concern. Maybe after the taste spits out into the water, into the vessel, it's going to reabsorb the taste. The poskim say, therefore we don't do Hagal in any vessel that's a ben yoimei, it was used this very day. But now we turn to page Kuf Chav Daled. You have to wait from the time that the vessel was used for this forbidden substance, a period of 24 hours at least or more. You should also not use the vessel for any hot substance during that time. Because what do you gain by waiting 24 hours? By waiting 24 hours, then whatever is absorbed into the vessel, that taste is now going to become a spoiled taste, is not food grade, is not palatable. So when it gets purged out into the vessel again, it's not going to make the vessel not kosher. You see the point? So when I'm doing Hagala and I'm boiling water inside a vessel, I'm removing the taste that's inside the walls. If I'm going to remove taste that's a fresh taste, I'm now going to make the vessel not kosher again because it's going to get reabsorbed. But if I'm removing the taste that's nifkam, that's already considered pogum, it's considered to be non-food grade, then it's not going to make the vessel not kosher again. Because if what's going in is not food grade.
So it's only food grade taste within 24 hours.
If it's fresh, yes. And now I'm going to ask a question. It's a rhetorical question. So if that's the case, if it's already 24 hours in the taste that's in the vessel, it's not food grade, why do I have to take it out? It's not food grade. The answer is because it went in as food grade. It has to go out. But if new taste goes in as non-food grade, it doesn't make the vessel not kosher.
It just sounds to me like the way you put onions in a container, and you wash the container, it still smells like onions. It's the same vibe.
Well, that's a very good example because there are things that we see in a kitchen life that there is a form of carryover of taste residue. A colleague of mine was once challenged by one of his clients. He said, "Rabbi, are you telling me that stainless steel really absorbs? It's stainless steel, we clean it." So the rabbi said, "Tell me, would you take a fish pot in your house, stainless steel, you used to cook fish, you cleaned it, you washed it. Would you boil water in that pot and serve coffee for your guests?" The guy's like, "No way, Rabbi, I wouldn't do that." It's like, you prove my point.
In the South, you have a separate pot for making your sweet iced tea.
In the South, everything is different.
That's a fact.
My sister lives there.
I lived there.
You do live there? Where?
Yes,
In
South Carolina.
South Carolina, yeah. The South is unbelievable there.
Oh, next
You
level.
go to the store, they tell you to come back. Like they talk to you like you're your best friend. If they did that in New York, you think they're about to mug you. So you have to be, it's a different culture there. My sister lives there. I mean, everyone's super friendly. They talk to you. It's really a
They're
different.
backhanded friendly. They're not really friendly.
You don't like the South?
Bless your heart.
I've been out in Raleigh for like 10 years. People are
Oh, you live in
nice.
Raleigh? You don't like the South?
New York people are kind but not nice.
It's a different culture. It's a different world. I don't know. Hi, Rabbi. How you doing? Anyway, I know when I'm in the South, when I drive to my sister, it's like after 7 hours when I get to Virginia and you start hearing the accent, it's just like, we're going to the South. I know it. Okay, anyway, so it doesn't make it not kosher anymore once it goes back in. On the other hand, when it comes to kosherizing a vessel with fire, since I'm destroying the taste with the fire, I can kosherize such a vessel the same very day. I don't have to wait 24 hours when I'm using fire, because fire doesn't extract the taste of that's in the vessel, it destroys it in its place. It's a different effect.
One last cheeseburger and you're like, going kosher now.
You take the torch to your mouth, and I'm just kidding.
Oh, I did that. It was, no, not the blow torch to my mouth, but I had my one last chicken and cheese thing. I'm like, all right, fine, now we're good.
Is that right? Okay.
Did that, now we're on to kosher things.
Okay.
It's like 3.5 years ago, and here we are, no regrets.
I'll tell you, I'll share with you a little story about kosher.
Now we're into stories.
I'm not closing the sefer though, I'm just giving you a little bit of a warning, heads up.
Letting your hair out a little.
There were a bunch of rabbonim. We could say Veltish rabbonim, world rabbis, that were trying to come up with an idea to help stem the tide of assimilation on college campuses. They were trying to do something for Jewish kids to help them marry Jews, and etc. The boys and Jewish boys should marry Jewish girls, etc. So they came up with all kinds of novel ideas. We're going to have classes. We're going to have, I don't know, Shabbatons, whatever they were thinking of. Then they asked the Rebbe, and the Rebbe said, make kosher cafeterias on campuses. Make a kosher cafeteria. So when you have a kosher cafeteria, what's going to happen? The Jewish kids, the boys and the girls, are going to go and eat in the kosher cafeteria. They're going to sit down at the same table. They'll mingle with each other. So it's going to create, automatically, it's going to make them marry each other. I mean, because they're going to get to know each other. It's going to help prevent them from mingling with the non-Jews. So the power of food is very, very strong. The Rebbe was getting this, by the way. I mean, of course, it's the Rebbe's novel idea, but I think the Rebbe was basing it on what we see in the Rambam. We see it in the Poskim that food has the power of drawing people close together. That's why the aura of the Shabbos table is so special. So if we use the power properly, we harness it properly, we can use it for a lot of good things. Want to hear another story now?
Yeah.
One more story. Then I'm going to tell you, then we're going to go back into the studies. About probably 6 or 7 years ago, I saw this entourage of people coming to the OK office, coming to meet with my father-in-law, Rabbi Daniel Levy, of blessed memory. It looked like a pretty high-powered meeting. They came with their suits and whatnot. It's kind of curious, like, what is this about? I didn't want to be nosy. I didn't say anything, but about a year later, I saw them come again. And I saw this seemed to be like some sort of a pattern. They would come like every year. So I went over to my father and I said, if you don't mind me asking, like, what's this? I see this group of people coming to meet with you every year. I never met them. I don't know who they are. If you don't mind sharing anything, what's going on? She says to me, we certified them about 15 years ago. And they were caught with a kosher violation. They proved themselves to be untrustworthy. So I removed the certification. So I said, okay, so why are they meeting with you? He says, well, they come to meet me every year. And they're asking me if I'd give them back certification. They want kosher certification again. They're expressing remorse and they want certification. And so I said, so what'd you tell me? I said, no, I'm not going to give you back kosher certification. So I said, so fine, you told them once. Why are you keeping to meet with them on a year-to-year basis? He says to me, anybody who wants to meet with me is welcome to meet with me, but it's not going to change my decision. So he stood up for kashrus. He wasn't going to bend. They proved themselves untrustworthy. They're not getting a hechsher again. You want to meet with him? Okay, they can meet with me. So he politely listened to them every year. They said the same sob story. He said, no, I'm not going to give you the hechsher again. That was his character. He had a lot of character, my father-in-law. He was a very strong personality. And in fact, I think that's one of the reasons, see, one story brings to another story. That's one of the reasons why the Rebbe told him to go into kashrus. The Rebbe said to him, in 1977, he didn't want to go into kashrus. His father-in-law wanted him to join the OK at the time. And the Rebbe said to him, Go into kashrus and fix things up. My father-in-law, I'm sorry? There's a book about my father-in-law's father, my wife's grandfather, Earl Levy. You should read the book, by the way. You read the book? He was quite a personality. He's a real personality. You read the one about the gun? Remember the one with the gun? He was sitting down. He gave a hechsher to a candy company, and the competitor was not happy at the time. It was the first company to actually certify a competitor. He started certifying a candy company. It was a competitor of an existing kosher company. So the salesman of the kosher company came to meet with him and was upset that he started certifying a competitor. And the guy took a gun and put it on the table just to, to scare Rabbi Levi. Rabbi Levi said to him, either use the gun or put it away. The guy put it back in his trunk.
It's like when someone's following you and you turn around and you stare at them. It's like, do it.
He put him in his place. And he was very, I don't know where he got the guts for that, but he had it. There's one more story. Okay, I have to tell this other one, but his father, Rabbi Levi, was a fearless person. You read the book, you'll get a sense of how fearless he was. But he was in Russia. He used to go on trips for the Rebbe. He was in Russia. This is back in the days when it was pretty dangerous. And he was, of course, being followed by the KGB. So in his hotel room, he's waiting to get his taxi to go to his next destination in the morning. And 150 feet back was a black Mercedes with a KGB stone-faced driver. And his taxi didn't show up for some reason. So he walked down 150 feet, knocked on the window of the Mercedes. And the guy, the KGB officer rolled on the window. He says to him, "You're going my direction. Can I get a ride with you?" The guy was not amused, didn't say anything. But that was him. He was fearless. And then his wife, who I knew, Rabbi Levi's wife, because my wife's grandmother lived a long life. She lived till almost 96. She passed away about 2 years ago. She told me this story about 5 years ago. She said when they were in Russia together, so she was a feisty woman, because her husband was feisty. They were fiery people. But she told me that. By the way, you have to hear these stories because it gives you a glimpse of Jewish life. It's finest. So she said that she was going to Russia. This is like in the 70s, and she had her shaitel set. She had it made. It was in a shaitel box. It was all made. And of course, when they come to Russia, they're going to open your packages and examine everything. So this female, officer in Russia is checking her shaitel. So she says to her, "You dear mess up my shaitel," she says, "my wig. I paid $50 to have that set. You're going to be responsible." So she stopped touching it. Got scared. And then she what? She did. She did that also, by the way. She brought money once in the shaitel, in the shaitel she was wearing. But another story was that she brought money with them. They had a certain amount of money they were allowed to bring in. I don't remember whatever the maximum was. It was legal, but they wanted to count it. So she said to the officer, "You're going to count it in front of me. You're not going to another room," because she was afraid they would siphon off a little bit. But there's many stories, many stories. But anyway, the Rebbe had a lot of nachas from what they did. I'll tell you one more story. This is my all-time favorite. She told this to me 3 years ago, and she said it to me with the same amount of vigor that had happened 60 years before, when she and her husband were chasna kala. She told me this story, a story that happened probably 70 years before, 75 years before. But she was already like 92 at the time, and probably it happened 72 years early. She was about 20 years old. Anyway, she was a chasna kala, and they had a yichidus by the Frierdiker Rebbe. So my wife's grandmother, Mrs. Thelma Levy, Rebbetzin Thelma, she was a bookkeeper by trade. She was very strict. Like you don't mess. She was very frum and very straight, but that was her personality. So anyway, they're Yechidus and they're chasna kala. So Beryl is the chasna and Rebbetzin Thelma is the kala, and they're meeting the Frierdiker Rebbe. And the Frierdiker Rebbe, at that time, Beryl was in chinuch. He was involved in chinuch, and Frierdiker Rebbe was going to send him to New Haven to run a yeshiva in New Haven, to start the Bible yeshiva there. So Frierdiker Rebbe asked the Kala, like, "What do you do?" So he, I don't know what he asked her. They started discussing what she's going to do. So Frierdiker Rebbe said to her, "Du v'zaina letter. You're going to be a teacher in this school that your husband's setting up." And she was stunned because she was not a teacher by trade. She was a bookkeeper. So she started to say, like, "I'm not a teacher." She started to just react. Like, "I'm not." So Beryl looked at her and says, "Du v'zaina letter. You're going to be a teacher." So that was it. The Rebbe said, "You're going to be a teacher." She was a teacher. And she was Makara people, and but a lot of good stuff there. Yeah, there's many stories. But anyway, Ah, good times. Good times. And now it brings me to another story. The problem is they open the floodgates, they don't close. When anyway, there's a lot to tell. When the Rebbe found out, Beryl Levy passed away young. He was only 63 years old. He passed away on a Shabbos, Hey Nissen. I know the Rav who was with him, Mamish by Yitzias and Hashama, who was in Hatzalah with him. I'm very close to the Rav. He told me the story. So he said, Vidya with him. Anyway, so the Rebbe found out, I think, Matzah Shabbos or Sunday. The Rebbe was standing by the doorpost. The Rebbe fell back on the doorpost when he heard Beryl passed away. And Beryl was very close to the Rebbe. The Rebbe Chaim Mushki used to call Beryl Levy with questions on kashrus and about products, what's considered reliable. Kashrus was not as developed as it is today. She used to ask him questions about products. All right. One more story I'm going to tell you. There's a company that we certify. I take care of the company. It's owned by Svardish Yidden. They make a pastry dough, puff pastry. It's called Mazer's French dough. Mazer's dough. You probably see it in the stores. So the Rebbitzin used to buy that product, and I think she made barekas. She put filling potato in it, made dishes. And she told Beryl Levy that my man asked us, my husband likes this sort of eats this. So Beryl told the company that they're supposed to make product for the Rebbe. It's another story, by the way. There was a, you see, I know a lot of this. I don't know what I did to deserve this honor, but I was around some really great people. And I was able to nash stories and things that happened that are not published. This is like stuff, the undercurrents of Lubavitch, what's going on. So another story was that when the Rebbe had cake by the Fabring and the Rebbe used to eat rum balls. I think the Rebbe had rum balls to the shahakol before the oil. I don't know. You have to ask the big mukasharim to know all the details. But I know that there was a time when the cake they were making for the Rebbe was just I don't know what the issue was. Apparently, it wasn't. The bakers were not that good at what they were doing. I don't know Pratim. So one of the Rebbe's Mesharsim came to Rabbi Levy and said that maybe you have cake from another bakery and you could. So of course, this is my father-in-law, Daniel. He put him in touch with a baker named Yumi Hirsch. This baker is already Neilam Ha'emes. I knew him. He was a Litvish Yid, but he was such a Yiras Shamayim and a Balmidus Toivas. He would bake the Rebbe's. Everybody ate from him. He was Mamish Tzaddik, this guy. And so he baked a big cake to the Rebbe. I think they told him what took the thing to make it. But in order not to make the other bakery feel bad, they put everything, they set it up for the Rebbe. They set up the cake from the other bakery, and they set up the cake from this new baker in front. And that way nobody knew that the Rebbe wasn't eating from the other stuff. And I found this out from someone I'm not related to who told me the story. Anyway, okay. You want to hear some more stories? Am I going to get into trouble if I keep telling stories? You're not worried, huh? Let's learn a little bit more. Now, I'm sorry. How do you actually do Hagala? So you immerse the vessel in boiling water. So how does Hagala work? You put the pot full of water and you put it on the fire until the water starts to bubble. Then you put the vessel inside it. If the vessel does not have large enough space to put the entire vessel in at once, you can immerse half the vessel once and the other half the other time, and that's how you can do a kashrut. Now, another way to do is you can, if you want to be careful not to get burned. Some people wear rubber gloves that go all the way up to the elbow because you can put inside the pot. Another way is to use a bat. It's like an immersion basket, basically. It's a basket that's perforated. You put the vessel that you want to table inside, not table, to boil kasher inside the perforated basket. Make sure it gets totally immersed in the boiling water. Don't put too many vessels at once because you want to make sure that the boiling water can get everywhere. You don't want the vessels like tightly stacked because they want them all to be able to be affected by the boiling water. You can also immerse it and lower it to a string, like a crane, right? It's coming down a string. You can loosely hold it, not too tight, but don't make sure it's not too tight. Which means don't make it too tight. Because then it's going to prevent the water from reaching that spot that's very tight. Okay, Chav Gimel. Now, when you immerse a vessel, if I take an ambient vessel, let's say this vessel is room temperature, and I put it in a boiling pot, what's going to happen? It's going to lower the temperature of the water because I'm introducing something that's ambient temperature, so it's automatically going to cool down the boils, and sometimes it'll stop it from boiling. So what we need to do is we need to let it sit in the boiling water for, let's say, another 30 seconds until the water can be misgaber, can now boil back up, because it has to boil while the vessel's inside, the vessel in kasher. Sometimes the water will cool off. You have to wait until the water actually starts to boil. Now, leaving the water inside, leaving the vessel inside the water. Leave it in for about 30 seconds, as I just said. To give it enough time to purge the taste that's inside the vessel and go out into the water. But don't leave it in too long. If you leave it in too long, then it might reabsorb what it just purged. Even if it does, it's going to be considered a spoiled taste. But we try to avoid that. We try to avoid to have the taste reabsorbed. Any questions on what I said so far? No? Huh?
I just thought I'd answer it because it's very quiet.
Okay. The birds are making nice noise. They're chirping. What happens if you have a very large vessel? It cannot fit into another vessel. So then how do you do hagolah? You fill it up until the brim, till the top, as high as possible. By the way, there's such a thing called surface tension. You know what that is? My father was a scientist, so he taught it to me. He says a vessel can contain more mass than the size of the vessel, because when you get to the top, the pressure will allow the top part to do a little bit. It's called surface tension, versus surface tension. So over here, it's the same principle. You want to be able to fill it up very, very high until the very top, up to the surface tension, and then you boil it out. And then you put in like a boiling hot stone so that the boiling water should spill over the sides. That way it kashers itself. In factories, we do that, or we take a paddle that's also sitting into the boiling pot and have that paddle around the sides. You can do that also. Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry? Yeah. The reason why it has to be a hot stone is because when you put it into the water, you don't want to cool off the water. You want to make sure the water stays hot.
But you just drop an iron in there as well.
Of course, yeah, that's a hot stone. But that's going to also kasher the sides as well. Now, the handle of a vessel and also the lid have the same din as the vessel themselves. Halacha chavav tzorach la'agal gamas yotzak liyosef to kasher the handle of the vessel. Because also the handle got absorbed from Iyar. It's enough to pour boiling water. We kli rishon from a kli rishon. Plastic, also a handle made from plastic. You can also kasher through pouring boiling water. You have to clean very well the area by the handle. The cover of the vessel. It's not enough to do iroi. You have to actually immerse the cover into a boiling pot of water. It's actually on the fire. Yeah.
Are there halachos for how big the stone has to be?
No, Not really. It just has to be a stone that's should be a decent size, like the size of a golf ball or maybe a tennis ball, between that size, but enough that it's going to be hot. When I pour boiling water over it or immerse into a pot, it's going to give you enough mass to spill over. After we kosherize, the minhag is to do a cold rinse if we kosherize with boiling water. Because we want to remove the me'agola, the water that was used for kosherizing. But it's kosher even if we didn't rinse it. Because it was not a ben yoyim. It wasn't used within the last 24 hours. I tell you the word about Pesach Sheni. So I have to tell you that word. This Sunday is Pesach Sheni, and the Fiat Rebbe has a very good shmak of word. The Fiat Rebbe was known for his one-liners, like these Chassidish singers, and they encapsulate very deep concepts in a very succinct way. And the Fiat Rebbe says that in Lubavitch, it says Faram Drai Shenis. There's 3 Shenis in Lubavitch. There's a Nefesh HaShenis, which refers to the godly soul, because it comes in after the animal soul. The person is born with the animal soul, and the complete installment of the godly souls by the Bar Bas Mitzvah. So the godly soul comes second. It's called the Nefesh HaShenis, as Alter Rebbe calls it in Tanya. And then it's also called, in the Lubavitch, you have what's called the Cheder Sheni. In the Lubavitch, they always had the Beis HaMedrash. Then they had a small room off to the side, which was fondly called the Chabad Nitzev, like the Chabad room, or the Cheder Sheni. That was a room where people sat and davened Avodah and davened at length and with deep contemplation, slowly, and etc. Chassidish davening. And Pesach Sheni is all about the Shtokim Fafalin. There's nothing that we can always make up on lost time, right? Even if someone was with their chechoika, they were far off, or they were tameya, even if it was lachem, even if it was on purpose, we can correct ourselves. So the Fiat Rebbe says, we take the Nefesh HaShenis, we put him into Cheder Sheni, meaning we daven and we tshuva, then it's Pesach Sheni. Pesach Sheni, we can fix everything up. It's apart from the Fiat Rebbe.
Wait, Pesach Sheni is only for only classes then?
No, everybody does it, but the Fiat Rebbe explained it, spiritual significance.
Oh.
That the significance of it, that it's, we can always make up on lost time. Everybody has matzah, has the custom and all that. There was another story I heard from my father-in-law when he was in Russia with his father. They were being followed by a KGB officer. Naturally, there was a common occurrence. So his son, my father says, we're being followed. Come, let's chase him. So Beryl started chasing him after this guy was following. The guy ran to a store to try and shake him off. He ran through the store until the guy got on the train. He was fearless. He fought them. I don't know where he got it from, but there's no.
Okay, problem. Let's go chase him.
I mean, it's like, if you think about it, I mean, if you read historically what life was like then, he's chasing after them, and it's quite incredible. There's another story where he had money with him. I don't remember what. He was supposed to give it to someone, and he knew that he was being followed. And he eventually ripped up the money and flushed it down the toilet of his hotel room. And they came in a few minutes later. And, a lot of stories. I heard from another yid that was in Russia, Rabbi Katz, a blessed memory. He said that he used to sleep. He was told to sleep without sheets on. Rabbi Katz had a photographic memory. He literally remembered everything. I knew him. He worked with us in Kashrus, a genius. So he used to memorize people's names and addresses and gave them back to the Rebbe, and they wrote it down. He remembered everything. So he said that when he went to Russia, he stayed in a hotel, he was told to sleep without sheets on in the hotel room, because in the morning when I guess the maid service cleans the room, they check to see if there's a lot of creases on the sheets. If there's a lot of crease on the sheets, it means the person's restless, that they have secrets to hold, and they're hiding things. They're not relaxed. So they check for that, and therefore you take the sheets off before you sleep. Just to show you the level of craziness that they had to live with. It's fascinating. There's another story there's a story once Rabbi Katz was, he brought money to somebody. They thought he was a spy. They wanted to kill him in the mikveh. And he had to say a certain simon to them. He had money hidden in a false bottom in a boot. I mean, there's stuff like amazing stories. Anyways, Chassidim of the Rebbe. Someone once said to me, Avart, he said that, you read stories of Chassidim from many generations ago. Of course, we can learn a tremendous amount of things from them. But then you have people that are the Rebbe's Chassidim, like the Rebbe made them. So like the Rebbe's thoroughbreds, And in a way, we can relate to them more because these are American kids, so to speak, American people, and the Rebbe turned them into thoroughbreds. So that's, yeah. Anyway, okay. And there's one more story. See, that doesn't stop with me. This Rabbi Beryl Baumgarten, of blessed memory, he started the Begishas with my father in 1962. Someone interviewed him. They had a lot of success. A lot of people came to Lubavitch. Thousands of people came through this program. I said to him, well, they interviewed him, what's your success? What's your secret of success? He said, we just tell the truth. We just tell the truth. That was it. Yeah. Boy, Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem. Anyway. Chav Ches. One more halacha. No, we don't have time for that. Okay, we'll stop at Chav Ches. Let me just make a note for myself. I'll tell you one more story, maybe. Chaparain. My father came to the Rebbe in 1962. That summer, he worked in camp as a counselor for the CIT bunk. It was in Swan Lake, New York. My father was my father-in-law's counselor. They found that out after we got engaged, but that's what it was. He remembers. So my father was probably like 26 at the time. My father-in-law was about 13 or 14, but 9 years apart. So anyway, so the Rebbe told Rabbi Shem Tov, who ran the camp, make sure they don't give Yaakov Chanukah avodas perach. Don't give Yaakov Chanukah, slave tasking type of work. Because he's a new guy coming into Lubavitch, they can figure they can pass the thing out to him. Rebbe said, don't give him. Rebbe was just like so honored. Don't give avodas perach. I heard from another. I daven Shabbos with older Chassidim. I love it because I love history and I'm like verbringing stuff that happened 60, 70, 80 years ago. It's like I'm living it. So one of the Chassidim I daven with, he was 19 years old when the Frierdiker Rebbe passed away. So he remembers the Frierdiker Rebbe. I mean, it's unbelievable to hear from him. Anyway, this story that tells me that in the 1960s, the Rebbe came to visit the camp. On top of the canteen, they had a sign. Money is the root of all evil, leave it here. Leave your money here. And the Rebbe came to camp and he saw this, he said they should take it down. It's from Christian origins, that expression. All right, girls, so you get a little halacha, you get a little fabrengen. It's a little bit of like a spicy cholent. That's what it is. Shabbos.
Your brother was a teacher in high school, and you guys were very similar.